Conservative Democratic Senator Joe Manchin is now breaking away pretty aggressively from his own party in regard to reforming our democracy and the elections. This is the For the People Act, a very comprehensive and robust bill that would do many of the things that we as progressives or anyone who supports democracy would want, like getting money out of politics, campaign finance, same-day voter registration. And it's curious that Manchin is against it, right? Well, I don't know, you judge for yourselves. He said, quote, "I believe Democrats and Republicans feel very strongly about protecting the ballot boxes, allowing people to protect the right to vote, making it accessible, making it fair, and making it secure." Then he also says the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, if we apply that to all 50 states and territories, it's something that can be done. It should be done. It could be done bipartisan to start getting confidence back in our system. So for those of you who are wondering, what is he talking about here? He's essentially saying, look, my Republican buddies, they don't like the idea of reforming elections. They don't like the idea of election security, even though they pretend as if they're concerned about voter fraud. They don't actually care about campaign finance reform. They love being corrupted by their corporate donors. I love being corrupted by my corporate donors too. I'm just, decoding what he's saying for you. So instead of a robust bill like the For the People Act, why don't we attempt to undo the damage by a Supreme Court ruling that was recently held and re-implement elements of the Voting Rights Act, which was repealed by the Supreme Court decision. Now, the thing is, there is no indication that the GOP even supports that. Doesn't even support that. There is no indication, but he's like, in my private conversations with these Republican senators, they said that they are. Yeah, no one's believing you. At least no one who's smart enough would believe that.
Well, that eliminates almost all the Washington reporters.
Exactly, that's true.
Yeah, they all wrote it down like, oh, Joe Manchin is in favor of voting rights because he said it. No, what he said is, I will not allow the Democrats to do a voting rights bill unless Mitch McConnell agrees. He says the Republicans must agree, otherwise he's not going to allow any bill on voting rights to pass. Here's what the Republicans agreed to in terms of expanding voting rights. Nothing.
Zero.
Zero. So Joe Manchin just told all the minorities in the country, go take a long walk off a short dock. I care so much more about my corporate donors and my Republican friends than I care about any Democratic voters, any minorities in this country. I don't care. So let's talk about voter fraud. Donald Trump said, it cost me so many votes in the 2016 election, let alone 2020. So when he was president, he put together a commission. One of the worst right-wingers in the country, Chris Kobach led it, anti-immigrant, anti-everything, claims, voter fraud is so terrible. They shut it down because they had no evidence. When Kobach was asked about it, he cited statistics that when you did the math on the number of voters and the number of voter fraud over several decades in America, I remember the number and I'm going to tell you what it is. This is the voter fraud in America was 0.0000016.
Wow, sounds prevalent.
Yeah, that's amazing. Almost no cases at all, okay? There's just a couple here and there, like in the 2020 election, there was a guy who voted for his dead mom on behalf of his dead mom for Trump. And said, Trump told me Democrats are gonna cheat, so I cheated ahead of time. Oops, okay, so there's a couple of cases like that, right? And so because of that lie, which by the way, the Bush administration also told, Republicans have been telling that lie for decades, right? Now, the Republicans say, well, that's it. We're not gonna expand any voting rights because everything is voter fraud. Mail-in ballots, voter fraud. Early voting, voter fraud. Requiring IDs, which makes it much harder for minorities and poor people and college students, et cetera, to vote because they might not have a driver's license in that state, even though they live in that state, or they live in a city and they don't have a car, et cetera. Don't care, voter fraud, voter fraud. And Manchin just put a stamp of approval on all of those Republican lies.
That's right.
And he's saying, yeah, whatever Mitch McConnell wants to do, I'm gonna hand the Senate over to him. And then the main thing that they usually say about Manchin is, you don't wanna anger Manchin. What if he becomes a Republican? Too late.
Seriously, no, that is like the most ridiculous argument. Look, Joe Manchin is still trying to insult our intelligence with this talking point or this excuse that he just wants to pass legislation in a bipartisan way. He thinks we're stupid. Like, that's the part that gets to me. That's the part that enrages me. As if we're living under a rock and we didn't just experience what the House Republicans did to Liz Cheney because she refused to lie to voters about the 2020 election. She refused to regurgitate Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 election. So anyone who says anything that seems even remotely supportive of the Democrats, of the Biden administration, immediately gets punished in the Republican Party. What makes Joe Manchin think that Republican lawmakers have any interest in working with Democrats? He's yet to provide a shred of evidence. He provided one piece of a resolution that they passed in a bipartisan way condemning hate crimes against Asian Americans. Congratulations, that's the easiest thing. But let's talk about money. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about actual funding that would help secure our elections, that would help expand voting rights to Americans, to all eligible voters. Let's talk about the resources necessary to pass the infrastructure bill. Shelley Moore Capito met with Joe Biden just today. They had a meeting, cute little meeting. Went really, really well. You know what her counteroffer was for the infrastructure bill? A little over $500 billion. Just a little over $500 billion. Why does Joe Manchin think we're stupid?
Well, no, I really want to be fair to him.
No, let's not be fair to him. He doesn't deserve it.
No, but hear me out, okay? And by the way, just give you quick context. Shelley Moore Capito is the Republican, or maybe the other Republican senator from West Virginia, and Biden's infrastructure bill is 2.25 trillion. So when she comes in at 0.5 trillion, it's comically off from the.
It's a joke.
And Manchin, when he says we should just negotiate with the Republicans, he means we should just do the Republican plan. So Republicans don't negotiate; they just say, here's our plan, and that's it. So as I told you from the beginning, there's no way that package is going to be over $800 billion. Biden has already signaled surrender because he's not the president. Manchin's the president. But to be fair, here comes the fairness. Number one, Joe Biden is Joe Manchin. Joe Biden actually, his entire career has agreed with Joe Manchin. So it's just a marketing campaign for Biden to, I'm like FDR, but I couldn't be because I got defeated by Joe Manchin. Could you imagine FDR being like, there's one Democratic senator that's opposing me. I guess I'll give up. Yeah, that's what FDR would do. Anyway, now further fairness to Joe Manchin, he's right. The mainstream media is stupid, so they're never gonna challenge him. So he could lie all day long and say, I'm for voting rights. Hey, idiot, write it down. Stenographer, hey, I'm powerful, you work for me. Write it down, I am in favor of voting rights. I'm in favor of bipartisanship and unity. I'm bringing the country together by not letting black people vote. Write it down, and they do. Every article writes it down. Voting rights, wonderful Joe Manchin, bipartisan, unity, moderate, has to do it because of West Virginia. So he's right. The reporters, he acts with impunity because there are no reporters in Washington who don't want to kiss corporate ass. And then no, wait, hold on, let's get to the Democrats. And normally the Democrats, if they actually wanted to pass their agenda, they would fight back.
Yep.
And they would say, hey, look, you're in our caucus, we got an issue. Here's the carrots and sticks we're gonna use to try to get you to vote our way. Instead, the Democrats go, okay, he's a Democratic colleague, so we will never ever criticize him, let alone pressure him, let alone pummel him so his poll numbers go down and he's actually worried about losing power. Because that's actually how you play hardball in politics and move legislators to the direction they don't want to go. But none of the Democrats are willing to do that because of their beloved sainted colleague, Joe Manchin. So I don't see any fight in any of them. Forget the corporate Democrats.
You're right.
Progressive Democrats, a tweet here or there, you're not fighting Manchin. They're all surrendering to Manchin. So Anna, I don't think he's that dumb. I think he sees nothing but surrender and he's declared himself president and all Washington agrees.
Yeah, let me be clear about something. I don't think Joe Manchin is dumb. Everything in life, including especially in politics, is about incentives and disincentives. Joe Manchin is doing what he is incentivized to do. But he thinks we're stupid, and that's the part that gets to me. When he insults the intelligence of voters and people who have bought it. I mean, look, to be fair, when it came to those runoff elections in Georgia for those Senate seats, how many Democratic voters felt that it was the most important thing to make sure that we get those Democratic senators elected? right? What is the Democratic Party gonna do to keep voters motivated if they keep selling us this lie about it's the most important election, it's the most important election. If you just get these Democrats elected, we can get our agenda done, guys. We can get our agenda done. And then they never deliver. They never deliver. What is the Democratic Party? What is the DCCC gonna do to encourage Democratic voters to actually show up to the polls when they never deliver? Okay, so putting that aside, I agree with you. The Democrats don't want it. The Biden administration doesn't want it. We gave him credit when he went to Louisiana to campaign on behalf of his infrastructure bill. I thought that was smart because he's reaching out to conservative voters to let them know your towns, because of these extreme weather conditions, because of dilapidated infrastructure, has been torn apart. And here is what I want to offer you. That's good. That's a smart strategy. Go to West Virginia and talk about how, hey, we want to build a manufacturing plant in West Virginia to manufacture wind turbines. Unionized jobs, well-paying jobs, benefits included. But Joe Manchin, he's standing in the way. He's standing in the way. What can we do? That's playing hardball. That's using carrots and sticks, but he's not gonna do that.
I'll give you one last example. Kyrsten Sinema, when she did the vote against minimum wage, and it got so much press because she did the swirling no vote against the $15 minimum wage, her approval rating in Arizona dropped from 65 to 50. She lost 15 points. So it's not theoretical. You actually can drive their poll numbers down and you can affect them. It's just that, and Anna, you're right. You didn't say Manchin was dumb. You said he thinks we're dumb. But no, he knows progressives and the voters will get it if you just tell them. What he's actually assuming is that the corporate media is dumb, and he's right. They accidentally told the truth about Kyrsten Sinema for a second, and our poll numbers dropped by 15 points. But they never tell you the truth about Manchin because he didn't do a swirling no. It wasn't on video. It wasn't cute, and so they're like squirrel. They got distracted, and they suck at their jobs. So if a politician says something, they write it down as if it's true, and then he's right about his Democratic colleagues. They'll never challenge him.
Right.
They'll never challenge him. So he's like, I'm gonna run roughshod. I run the country. What are you gonna do about it? Chris Coons, you agree with me. You're not gonna do anything about it. Bernie Sanders, you don't agree with me. You'll do an interview here and there, but you won't really do anything.
I mean, the Democratic Party, it's so hilarious. I mean, they're knee deep in Oppo research on Donald Trump, DeSantis, Governor DeSantis of Florida, anyone who could potentially run in 2024. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna take the traditional route of doing Oppo research, as if there's anything the Democratic Party is gonna find that's gonna turn Republican voters off to these individuals. They do everything out in the open. What are you gonna find? How about instead of doing Oppo research, or while also doing Oppo research, you take a look at what you can offer voters, what you can do to materially improve their lives. How about that? Because really, that's the only way the Democratic Party has a shot. Okay. If they don't deliver, it's over. It's over. It really is.
And this is their core. This is their core voting rights bill. I mean, this in fact affects their own elections. If you incompetent people can't get this passed, you can't get anything passed. So look, super last thing. I remember when I interviewed Bernie Sanders when he was running for president, I asked him if Manchin, I literally specifically asked about Manchin. If Manchin opposes you when you're president, how will you move his vote? He said, I'm gonna go down to West Virginia and I'll do rallies there until we move his vote. That's a great answer. I celebrated that answer. I thought it was amazing, best answer out of any of the candidates.
Do it now.
But now what's interesting is, now that Biden is president, Bernie, out of respect for Biden, doesn't fight Manchin at all. What kind of sense does that make? Doesn't make any sense. Yet we have nothing but wall-to-wall surrender as far as the eye can see. $15 minimum wage, they're never gonna bring it back up. It's over, right? Medicare for all is a long lost dream. But look, every corporate taxes going back to 35 or even 28, gone. These are all dreams. $2.2 trillion infrastructure bill, gone. Now the voting rights bill, gone. And what are the other Democrats doing? Nope, nothing. It would be impolite to our beloved friend. He's in the club, we share cocktails together. The hors d'oeuvres are delicious. We will never criticize Joe Manchin. We'll never really fight him. Okay, then you've admitted that you're surrendering. And I know that'll hurt your feelings, but that's a stone cold fact.
It's so frustrating. We've got about 3 minutes left, which is not enough time to do another story. So why don't we read some member comments, discuss other things.
All right.
And we'll save some of this for tomorrow.
All right, got you. So number one, folks just joined up, David McDaniel and Daniel Mullen. David and Daniel, you guys are awesome. Thank you for joining up, really appreciate it. You can also upgrade through the member section. So one of the things we're gonna do in the post game is we're gonna do a fun story about Sean Hannity threatening Jimmy Kimmel. Those are the fun stories left, is the threats, right? Anyways, that's for the people at the Essentials level on YouTube, and then anybody that joins through tyt.com/join gets the bonus episodes on all of our shows. So check that out if you can. Now I'm gonna go to the wonderful people on Twitch. The Real Blue Tech gifted 15 subs and 500 bits. I love your generosity, all of you. Senate Cherry Bowflight gifted 10 subs. Let me read some comments there. English Breakfast Dragon said, sending Bezos bucks to the greatest news outlet in the world, and gifted a sub. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. If you want to find out how to become a member on Twitch of the Young Turks, go to, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free for you, tyt.com/prime. All right, a lot of dog comments today. Oka T says, my dog is named Donut.
Good.
I like the randomness of Twitch too.
No, I want more of that, please. In fact, thank you to everyone who sends me photos of their walks when you go on nature walks, because I think everyone should make a point to go on nature walks at least a few times a week. And thank you to Jess for sending me pictures of your blooming peonies, because it's my favorite flower and I love seeing it.
You guys are, I love how thoughtful you are. I love this community. The Bears Den wrote in, got my second shot today, loving the free 5G. Win the day with that comment. It's hilarious. Hilarious. Nice job, Bears Den. And a lot of dens today. The Wolf's Den writes in, been watching for years, subscribed every now and again. Now it's a renewing one, so that's awesome. Thank you, appreciate it. And then I'm gonna go to cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. On our member section, he says, I'm starting to think Manchin is gearing up to swap sides and wants to limit the reining in of the tools Republicans have been using forever, so he doesn't end up jumping onto a sinking ship. So I thought the same exact thing. Like going against the voting rights bill, that will actually theoretically infuriate other Democrats. So let's see if they actually do anything about it. And that might mean that he jumps over to being a Republican. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.